Hey y'all, what's going on? This is Jackie, and today I'm making a video about Sentinel events. Now, a Sentinel event is an event that happens in a healthcare facility, usually a hospital, and they are very rare, but they do happen. 9 times out of 10, if it were to happen, you wouldn't know about it because hospitals are very hush hush. They like to keep everything under wraps. Like even things that not even like this, they keep under hush hush. Okay, that's just how hospitals work. For y'all that don't know, hospitals are very hush hush about everything. And so if you do hear about a Centennial event, that means somebody's talking. Okay, somebody's spilling the beans. But usually, if it were to, it doesn't happen. But if it were to happen, we really wouldn't know about it. So that's why a lot of people don't know what a Centennial event is. Those who work in hospitals, like we've heard of it, but we couldn't tell you what all of them are. Okay, so today we just gonna talk about what they are. So something it's a few. The first is infant abduction. So if an infant was abducted from a hospital, that's a Centennial event. If an infant was given to the wrong family, so let's say a baby was born and they went home to the wrong family, that's a Centennial event. We've heard about things like that. Death of an infant not born prematurely. So if a baby was a full term birth and then all of a sudden they're dead, that's an event. Severe neonatal jaundice, that's an event. Surgery on the wrong body part or wrong person. Objects left in the patient after surgery. Rape at a healthcare facility. And let's see what else we got. Suicide at a healthcare facility or within 72 hours of departure, receiving blood transfusion of the wrong blood type, radiation therapy to the wrong body part, and radiation therapy 25% or more above the planned dose. So those are just some of the Centennial events. Now, and I think those might be like the most common ones. I mean, well, let me rephrase that. The most common one was falls, which I don't understand how but anyway. So I guess if a person falls and then they break a bone or whatever, that might be. I don't know. It's because they be all day reporting self-reporting falls. I think if it results in like broken bone or death or maybe I don't know, but that's the number one, which is falls. That's why hospitals are so particular about the the socks and the bed rails and the bed alarms and things like that. Even though you know what, but it do kind of make sense because if you go in for one thing, if if a patient goes in for one thing and then they fall and uh break their hip or whatever, now you have a injury that occurred, like that's not related to why you went in there. So maybe that's why it's considered a Centennial event. Now that would make sense. So we're gonna start from the top of the list, like infant abductions. Oh, you know what? Let me tell you, so far from January to June, July, so the first half of 2023, these are, I'm going to tell you what the most reported ones are. So, like I said, falls is number one, that's like 44%. And then surgery on the wrong body part or wrong person, that's 8%. And then objects left in the patient after surgery, 9%. And then rape at a healthcare facility, 8%. And then let's see what else. Suicide at a healthcare facility or within 72 hours of departure, that's at 5%. And let's see. That's all I have for right now. Did I get everything? Yeah. Yeah. So those are the ones that are kind of sort of most reported. So I think I kind of know about all these. Like we kind of had something similar at the hospital, or almost. An infant abduction, we well, I guess it would have been considered. Well, I don't know if the mama was involved though. So we had a situation where the mother gave birth. Now, mind you, I don't work in. I never worked in labor in mother baby labor delivery, but I know all the business. Okay, and so we had a situation where the baby was born. I think had drugs in the system, so they had called like CPS or whatever, and they were coming to get the baby or something. But the father, he came in there with a gun and was gonna take the baby. So I guess the mama, I guess the mama was involved, the mother of the baby, because I guess she called the father. And anyway, he came in there with a gun, and then the police was there, and the police, or I don't know who, I don't know, some kind of way he, I don't know who it was, if it was the security or if it was the police, but they knocked him down, and he bopped his head on the floor in the hospital, and he was bleeding. And the reason why I know this, I know what happened, is because they call for surgery stat, like any surgery, because it was like the weekend, I worked the weekends, and they call for like any surgeon in the hospital stat, like to OR. And we were like, what's going on? Okay, it was like a Saturday, Sunday. We were like, what's going on? And then I went I took my nose behind somewhere and I got all the business. But anyway, and then after that, that's how they got the panic buttons in the hospital because of that situation. But yeah, he came. He was coming to get his baby. But I don't know if it would have been considered infant abduction because he was the father. I don't know. So, but yeah, that's what happened. And then another one's infant to the wrong family. So like they don't make movies about that. We've seen that where like switched at birth and things like that. So that's a Sentinel event. And death of an infant not born prematurely. So you know what? And I forgot to look it up before I made this video, but there was a story in Atlanta of a baby that was born. Lady had the baby, and then the head came off. The doctor like detached the head from the baby, and they were suing, and then they went to go get the body, so they can bury the baby, and the body gone, and child. But anyway, so I'm gonna leave that alone because I'm confused. Okay, I'm like, okay, some other stuff going on. And then of course severe neonatal jaundice. And then we have surgery on the wrong body part or wrong person. We've heard of that. People getting the wrong leg amputated, or the wrong person got surgery on, they, you know, the roommate, they came and got the roommate instead of the correct person. Like we've heard about that. We heard of objects left in the patient after surgery. Woo! And that was at 9%. And then rape at a healthcare facility. Um, I remember when I first started working at the hospital, when I was on the med surge, there was this guy. They said he was still working there, but they said he had been accused of. I don't think the lady accused him of rape. I want to say she might have. I don't know, but she accused him of touching her, and there was an investigation. But he was still working there, so I guess nothing came of it. The lady might have been, but anyway. But he was still working there. But he did seem like a pervert, and he worked night shift. I don't know. He just had that, they be having that. But anyway. And then suicide at a healthcare facility or within 72 hours of departure, and that's at like 5%. That's been reported. Which I mean, it makes sense because if you got people who are like Baker Acts, like here in Florida we call them Baker Acts. I think in other states call them like 5150 and things like that. If they're able to commit suicide at a facility, because 9 times out of 10, they might have came because nobody who is going. I mean, well, let me not say nobody. It's very rare for somebody who's going in there for a UTI or a broken leg to commit suicide. Usually, if a person is in the hospital and they commit suicide, they have some issues like that was known. You know what I'm saying? And they commit suicide, or like or it says, or within 72 hours of departure. What, like, these hospitals are trying to get folks out, and they really don't. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't need to be discharged. They actually need to be sent to another facility, or they need to remain in the hospital, or whatever. So we know this does happen. But the suicide at a healthcare facility, we had this lady who, because when I first started working there, the Baker Acts used to get like they would eat regular food. You know, they would get the trays like everybody else. And we had this one lady. I'm pretty sure she was a Baker Act. She kept trying to kill herself by swallowing the knives, like swallowing the utensils. I'm like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? What? That don't even make sense. But she was always like swallowing the forks and the knives and the spoons and stuff, right? So then they got rid of that and they went to no utensils. So like they literally had like not even plastic, because the plastic is even easier to break. You know, the plastic utensils is even easier to break. So they got rid of that too. And then they had a styrofoam. So they got the styrofoam trays, and they can only use like finger foods, like no soup. I don't think they, yeah, well, because, yeah, how you gonna eat soup? You can eat, I mean, you can drink it, but you can't eat it. So literally, they would just have, yeah, they couldn't even have Jello. They couldn't even have Jello or anything, because it literally, you had to only be able to eat it with your fingers, because that lady kept trying to kill herself by swallowing the butter knives and stuff. Like, lady. But anyway, so yeah, so people be trying to kill themselves now in these facilities, especially if they don't want to be there. And then another is receiving a blood transfusion of the wrong blood type. Y'all, I don't know. We never really had any issues like that, because they don't play about that blood. So when in the ICU, I will go down and get the blood, because we have a tube system where like the lab can send up, the lab and the pharmacy, like we could send specimens down to the lab. So you know the nurses draw the blood, whatever, the urine samples, and we just put it in a tube, and it will go down to the lab. And then pharmacy, you know, they will send up medications through the tube system. But with the blood, we had to go down and get it. So I usually went down and got it. Sometimes the nurses went down, but for the most part in ICU, I always went down and got it. Even in the other ICU, I always went and got it. No, no, no. I take that back. In the other ICU, the nurses went and got it, and I think they would even take their labs to the to the to the their like specimens, like the blood and things. They would take it over there too. The nurse, I think, just because it was like right down the stairs, and I think it was a way for them to get out the ICU real quick. So they will always take it. But like me, I would go down and get the blood, because the nurses weren't going nowhere. They weren't walking nowhere, because it was a walk. So because the ICU I worked in was on the other side of the building. It wasn't part of the main hospital, so it was built on to the hospital. That's why we had a tube system. So anyway, so I would go down and get the blood from the lab, and I would have to, verify. We would have to match the MRN numbers, the blood type, everything. Like we would like, and that's just me and the technician in the lab. And then I would take the blood, give it to the nurses. The nurses would, match it up, make sure everything matched, and then they would give it. So, and then, of course, when I went to go get it, I couldn't go nowhere else, because that was like part of the CBLs, the continuing, what was CBL? Computer based learning. That was always a question. If they send you go get blood, can you go get the blood, then go to the cafeteria and pick up lunch? Like, no, you got to go right back to the floor and give them that blood. And so that's what I did. And so we always verify, um, and usually like one or two things of blood. Now we did have a few times where, you know, people were just bleeding, and it just took, it was like a lot going on in the ICU. It was a lot going on and rushing. I mean, there are times I ran back and forth, because I think it's a certain time period between, if it's just regular, that you can get blood. But if it's like stat, then it overrides everything. I think, matter of fact, I think a few times when we had situations going on in the ICU, when people were losing blood, they were sending it up through the tube, because that's how bad. Because we you couldn't leave the floor. That like it, we had a situation. So I think that's the only time they overrode it and sent it up through the tube. Because other than that, they didn't send it up through the tube. But I don't think. But even then, you still had to do it. You had to verify that you're getting the right blood. You had to verify the MR number, the patient's name, the blood type, the units, all that good stuff. Like you still had to verify that. Um. So I don't see anything about people receiving the blood, the wrong blood type. So they're real good about that because then you will have a situation. And then radiation therapy to the wrong body part, or radiation therapy 25% or above the planned dose, and that's just basically doing radiation on a person. So yeah, there are things that there are Sentinel events that happen. Like I said, they're very rare. But when they do happen, you usually don't hear about it because everything is hush hush. That's how hospitals work. But they do happen. Um, Hopefully, it never happens on your floor, and you ain't a part of it. Your name ain't on that file. No, because like I said, I ain't never been a part of anything where it was a Centennial event. If I was, ain't nobody ever said anything to me. But I don't think I was in all these years. But yeah, that's all I got for you. If you have any questions or comments, you can put them down below. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. I want to say hey to all the new subscribers, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.